I'm going to switch to a cheaper competitor from now on. Try not to go bankrupt, okay? A vulgar laugh could be heard over the phone. Our company has always used our technical prowess to overcome any order. The department head didn't realize how hard it was to master this patent. I realized it was time to cut ties with him. We will likely never do business together again. With that resolution in my heart, I accepted White's decision. Don't regret it, even if misfortune comes your way now. What? How could that be? His laughter grew even louder. White still hadn't grasped how foolish his choice was. The next day, White called. Despite saying he was ending our dealings yesterday, what does he want now? When I answered the phone, White seemed clearly shaken, unlike usual. What's going on? This must be your fault. At this rate, our sales will drop to zero. That day, the department head, laughing uproariously, was about to face a dramatic downfall. I'm Tyler Smith. At 37, I manage a construction company. In recent times, with changing building circumstances, meeting energy-saving standards is necessary to qualify for mortgage tax reductions. Since my father's time, we've developed a unique technology to meet these standards, resulting in a new construction method. People and homes will change as common sense changes. If we don't adapt to the times, neither we nor our company will survive. The method devised by my father allows an entire house to be efficiently temperature regulated by just one air conditioning unit. This revolutionary eco-technology has been highly acclaimed by those involved. My father often said that it was thanks to the craftsmen within our company that this technology was developed. We've patented this method. And though not many in the market know of it yet, industry professionals wanting to tour it have started visiting daily. My father's desire to provide housing suited to the times will likely continue to generate new technologies. Having inherited these aspirations, I've also inherited not only the company and patents but some troublesome business partners as well. Hey, this price is obviously too high. What are you spending all this money on? Today, as usual, a call came from that troublesome partner. On the other end of the phone was White Kazuyoshi, a department head from a business partner and a very stingy man. Our company offers affordable renovations and housing. But to cut costs, the burden falls on us, reducing the compensation for our construction work. In the construction industry, once the flow of jobs stops, the chances of getting new work disappear. I'm well aware that to consistently earn, we must take on jobs even from undesirable clients, but White's attitude always frustrates me. With the rising cost of disposal, I need at least that much. You think I can spend money on just trash fees? Handle it on your side. The cost of disposing of construction waste has been increasing yearly. If we don't follow the proper procedures, we risk being criminally charged. That's why we prefer to hire contractors for waste disposal, as we don't want to divert manpower to disposal tasks internally. Besides home building, our company also undertakes renovations. When we faced financial difficulties in the past, taking on a renovation project from this client helped us out. The client was so pleased with our first renovation that they continued to request more from us. After being helped out during a tough time, my father continued to accept work. But ever since White became the department head at the client's company, our compensation has been reduced. It troubled my father. Continuing to handle terrible projects for low pay wouldn't benefit the company. Fearing bankruptcy if we couldn't offer something suited to the times, my father developed a construction method while taking on renovation jobs. However, White was unaware of the significance of this construction method. The key today is affordability. Price competition will never disappear, no matter the era. By offering lower prices, we let customers recognize our corporate efforts. It also can be as advertising. Has he ever considered who is sacrificed for this affordability? I felt nothing but anger towards White. who fails to see that endlessly pursuing lower prices without any development only sacrifices those around us. I heard that this department head is not only deceiving subcontractors like myself, but also the clients, telling unsuspecting seniors that they could get subsidies for renovations, or not informing a newly married couple about building standards to get them to take out a home loan, are just some of his misdeeds. If true, White's actions could be criminal, and our company, having taken on his jobs, might also be liable. Due to his bad reputation, few companies deal with White. Probably only our company would accept his work for such low rates. I wondered if White truly understood who was in a critical situation, so I decided to confront him directly. I received a complaint from someone you recently referred. They were told they could cover the costs with a subsidy, but their application was denied. I don't know about that. I just mentioned that it was possible to get a subsidy. The customer decided on their own after hearing that. He was unwilling to respond sincerely to the client's complaint. It is clear that continuing this way will eventually make it impossible to conduct business. In the construction industry, once the flow of jobs stops, the chances of getting new work disappear. I believe this is not just a phenomenon among those of us involved in construction, but also among those involved in sales. Trust is more important than money. White, who doesn't understand this, seems to be neglecting his duties, using affordability as his shield. One day, as usual, White placed an order. Just thinking about being bombarded with unreasonable demands from morning made my stomach hurt. However, White suddenly made a declaration. From now on, I will entrust all construction to one company. I was dumbfounded by the abrupt halt in our transactions. Despite dealing with all sorts of unreasonable demands until now, White announced the cessation of our dealings without any consultation. It's infuriating dealing with such a client. But White tried to end our relationship without showing any sincerity, despite my company's emphasis on trust. Wait, please, it's unacceptable to end this without prior notice after we've met all our obligations until today. I naturally protested, but White was unwilling to change his attitude. Your place is too expensive. I found someone who will take the job cheaper than your rip-offs. That's all there is to it. Your company just lost the price competition, nothing more. White insists that the reason is the price. Honestly, there were times when we were in the red. And I can't imagine anyone being able to offer it cheaper without something being amiss. White's willingness to take on such risks for the sake of lower costs was incomprehensible to me. He didn't even consider the potential liabilities he was taking on. Despite this, White ignored my attempts to reason with him and pushed ahead. I'm going to switch to a cheaper competitor from now on. Try not to go bankrupt, okay? A vulgar laugh echoed from the phone. Our company has always used our technical prowess to get through any order. The department head didn't understand how hard it was to master this patent. I realized it was time to cut ties with him. We would probably never do business again. With this decision in my heart, I accepted White's choice. Don't regret it, even if misfortune comes your way now. What? As if that could happen, his laughter grew louder. White still hadn't grasped how foolish his decision was. The next day, I received a call from White. Yesterday, after declaring he was stopping our dealings, what could he possibly want now? When I picked up the phone, White sounded clearly upset, unlike usual. What's going on? This must be your fault. At this rate, our sales will drop to zero. His voice sounded pained over the phone. After our call yesterday, White had entrusted all his projects to a company that offered cheaper rates. But unbelievably, by the next day, that company had become unreachable. No one could locate any of the responsible parties there. Clients who had been transferred their work were furious, needing to find other companies immediately. But White, ever the miser, was getting turned down by competitors for offering too low a fee. Furthermore, he was troubled by a certain standard told to him by these competitors. Our company doesn't have construction methods that can meet the current energy-saving standards. Indeed, annually updated building codes affect eligibility for mortgage tax deductions. The government anticipates an increase in vacant homes and wants 80% of housing to be designed energy efficiently. Thus, to qualify for mortgage tax deductions, homes must meet energy efficiency standards. Some companies are aware of these changes and have prepared, but many contractors still aren't aware. Documents like building housing performance evaluation sheets and housing energy performance certificates are required. Yet some contractors still submit outdated forms like design housing performance evaluation documents and housing performance certificates. I hear many people are suffering losses because they cannot receive the mortgage tax deductions. Why can't you meet these basic standards? It's unbelievable. What's unbelievable is your demand. We can only do things the way we always have. It's a problem if you suddenly ask us to change. If you don't like it, find someone else. Many craftsmen believe their way is the right way, regardless of what the world says, and are stubborn about sticking to it. This is probably an unchangeable aspect of a craftsman's temperament. My father, who tried to create something suitable for the times, was an outlier in the industry. He must have thought about survival after considering it on his own, but such thoughts are rare among most craftsmen. I hadn't told you before, but our method meets the current energy-saving standards. I was doing it as a courtesy, hoping it would reduce problems for people. Our construction method has been patented to meet these energy standards. And we've been providing it to customers for free, thinking of their benefit. I've always tried to reduce the number of people who get tricked and end up sad. That's because I valued the trust relationship with our customers more than just offering the lowest prices. Why didn't you tell me you held the patent? Do you think such dishonest behavior is acceptable? What's dishonest about it? I've properly explained everything to our customers and got their permission. Not only that, but I've also prepared the necessary documents for them to receive mortgage tax deductions. Don't do things on your own. Because you didn't explain properly, we've suffered significant losses. How are you going to compensate for this responsibility? White was trying to blame our lack of information provision for the mess. It was clear that this would only make us even more convenient for him to exploit than ever before. White's inability to even imagine such scenarios shows a lack of self-awareness. You've put us at a disadvantage because you didn't provide proper information. This is an irreparable and serious violation. Even when I explained politely, White refused to understand and even threatened to sue the company. I thought he should be looking for a company to take over instead of acting out of anger. Just accept it. If our company really tried, we could easily crush yours. You'll regret it, not me. White said this, but his actions were not wise. His unilateral decisions were not forgiven by the clients. White, who was already disliked within the company due to numerous complaints, was now confronted with all the accumulated grievances due to his autocratic behavior. Ironically, his actions only made things worse for himself, leaving him without allies inside or outside the company. Why should I be blamed? It's your company's fault. Come here immediately and explain the situation. White kept insisting it was not his responsibility. His fluster was almost comical. When summoned by the client, I was asked to explain everything truthfully. I spoke about taking jobs under cheap conditions, providing homes that qualified for mortgage deductions to customers for free, and the numerous reckless projects ordered by White. I also disclosed all the dark rumors I had heard from other companies, sharing everything openly. The client was shocked and apologized to me. They probably hadn't known things had gotten so bad. It's sad to think that the actions of just one manager caused so much trouble for everyone around him. The unreasonable behavior of one person can make many people unhappy. This situation escalated further. Customers who were deceived by White formed a group and sued the company. The damages varied from large to small, but the number of cases was extraordinary. It's easy to imagine the immense effort required to scrutinize each one. I've said it many times, it was the customers who chose. I didn't say anything. Still, White refused to admit his wrongdoing. Finally, even the president became furious with White, who showed no sign of remorse. You don't understand the importance of your job. Customers are making a purchase that lasts a lifetime, and our building partners provide the matching expertise. That's all we are, and we have a responsibility to provide a proper sales environment. The president announced that White's irresponsible actions were the company's responsibility. He looked somber, taking the situation very seriously. Yet, to the very end, White did not accept responsibility for his actions. If only White's stubbornness shone in a better way, he might have been a remarkable person. Perhaps it was the enabling environment that changed him. Once people realize they are in a dominant position, it's said they start seeing others as foolish. Following this, the clients decided to review all past transactions from the beginning. In the worst cases, contracts worth millions were made, but ultimately, the clients couldn't even secure a mortgage. One client was saved from bankruptcy because their parents were wealthy. But if it had been someone less financially stable, they might not have survived in society. I granted their wish for a home. They should be thanking me instead. When asked for explanations, White, twisted as he was, only made excuses like a child. Everyone was simply astounded by his inability to behave like an adult. No one understands how such a person could have become a manager. The lack of social responsibility is nothing but a critical flaw in modern society. He probably can't even imagine that his actions might ultimately harm himself. I had no idea things had gotten this bad. I hope you can forgive the inconvenience caused. The president said, apologizing to me personally. It was the first time I had ever received such a sincere apology from someone in a higher position. I think this is the true nature of a leader. Misconduct by an employee or anyone associated with the company all converges on the responsibility of the president. Even if it's unrelated to oneself, the responsibility always lies with the executives or managers. No matter how thoroughly rules are enforced or what mistakes are made, those in charge are always prepared to bow their heads. As a fellow business owner, I deeply understand the president's feelings. And it's something I've resolved to bear in mind. I must be vigilant about embodying this figure of leadership as I manage my own business. Why do I have to suffer like this? It's all everyone else's fault, not mine. Thus, White was disciplined. And the company decided to sue over the fraudulent-like business practices revealed in past transactions, deeming them utterly inexcusable. White had been loudly blaming my company. But since receiving disciplinary action, he seemed utterly deflated, as if he had lost all spirit. He must have realized there was no escape left. While his bullish approach might have worked before, it certainly wouldn't hold up in a court of law. Now, his past actions were going to be scrutinized. What White had done was about to take form. That is what a trial is. White, now being investigated as part of a criminal case, has been abandoned by his family. Apparently, his wife took their children and fled during the night. Even his parents, his only remaining family, have disowned him, leaving him completely alone. The only person on his side now is the lawyer he's paying. This is the image of a man who has neglected his relationships for self-interest. He continued to act out of pure selfishness, never admitting any fault to the end. His situation is not one to be praised, but a natural consequence of his actions. I can't say how severe his punishment might be, but I hope he reflects on his actions. He must suffer more than those he hurt if he is to have any chance of returning to society. I hope at least this situation leads to his rehabilitation. A few days later, a client asked me to help a customer who had been troubled by White. They promised a better reward than before, so I gladly accepted. Buying a house is like buying a life. It's not a small investment. That's why the responsibility is so significant. There's nothing more gratifying than being able to provide a satisfactory home. My client, swamped with various issues, feared they might go bankrupt, but they had been profitable in other ventures and were safe from financial collapse. I was impressed by the client president, who always had a second and third plan ready. With the unreasonable demands gone, it has become significantly easier to work. Even just the absence of those stressful calls has brightened my spirits like a clear sky. Since then, I've been fortunate enough to meet someone and get married. Perhaps the passing of one misfortune has finally brought a favorable wind my way. Though I used to dread each day, now the sunrise feels like a new beginning, making the past seem distant. The pursuit of affordability is indeed necessary. Being able to offer lower prices allows products to circulate widely and enhances their presence. Without recognition, neither companies nor individuals can exist. Such is sometimes the feel of today's society. But we must not forget. Before the affordability, we must not neglect trust. Without either, one cannot claim to be acting sincerely. I feel like I learned this lesson through observing that manager. I vow to not make the same mistakes, ensuring I don't end up like him.